Hey Scott, what time is it?
Steve, did you lose your watch again? Oh, you're asking me if it's time for our podcast.
Well, Scott, my watch, it's under lock and key, so it must be time for the podcast. But that can only happen when the music hits. So here we go in three, two, one. Hey everybody, and welcome back once again to the Brewery Underground podcast. When you can follow us, of course, at our website. It's Sullivan and Turon Brewery Adventures.com. I'm Steve Sullivan, joined once again by the Chancellor of Craft Beer, Scott Turon, who is, like the rest of us, getting ready to hit the road for the holiday, as we know is Thanksgiving. Scott, how you doing?
Doing good, buddy. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. Well, of course, we're almost on to Thanksgiving. This podcast, as the cool kid's going to say, is going to be dropping here real soon, right before Thanksgiving. We're actually recording this on Tuesday, which is November the 21st. And as I said, many of us are going to be traveling for the holiday. I'm actually not. I'm sticking around Nashville, but you're going to be on the road, my friend.
Yeah, we're going to go to Columbus for the holiday by way of Cincinnati. We're going to stop and stay the night tomorrow night after we leave about noon tomorrow. So we get to break it up a little bit, but looking forward to the trip.
Well, it's certainly going to be a fun time. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that I think everybody looks forward to at Thanksgiving. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for the turkey. I'm ready for the gravy. I'm ready for the mashed potatoes and the casseroles and everything else. What are you looking forward to?
Well, seeing some people that I like, and definitely hitting some breweries because it's. I've been to Columbus before. I've hit some breweries there, but not very many. So I'm going to try to find a few more I haven't been to, and probably drink some whiskey at the same time since I'm bringing up a few bottles.
Whiskey and beer, I hear you. Well,
Hmm.
I'll tell you what, my friend. One of the things that we're going to talk about on this podcast today, a topic that I put on my blog on our website just a couple of days ago, and that is pumpkin pie or pumpkin beer. What say you?
If I have to choose, I'm picking pumpkin beer. But why can't we have both?
Why can't we
Uh,
have both? That's right.
yeah, you can have them any time of year, I guess, but they kind of they pair well together, and what better time to have them both?
Last week we gathered with some friends and we were discussing a little bit. We were going to bring this up about pumpkin pie, pumpkin beer. Maybe you could have both, but I'll tell you what, it's only been in the last couple of years that I started having some pumpkin beers. I know you have had a lot more pumpkin beers that I have over the last few years. I'm actually not the biggest pumpkin pie guy in the world, so maybe that was one of the reasons that I didn't imbibe in the pumpkin beers as much. But man, over the last couple of years, especially this year, I kind of like that kick, that kind of spicy kick you get with pumpkin beers.
Yeah, and kind of depends on what spices and how many, how much spice they put in each one of, and they're all different, right? I mean, am looking at your list, and yours range from different breweries and different, even different styles of pumpkins.
Well, let's talk about some of the pumpkin beers that we've had just recently. So last week we went back to Tailgate Brewery in South Nashville. We had been there once before, and that's the one that they opened near the Tanger outlets. And one of the pumpkin beers that I had, it was kind of a mixture. It's a pumpkin banana black currant sour snack, and that was actually a fruited sour, and I really enjoyed that. It wasn't a total pumpkin beer, but you could certainly taste the pumpkin in it, and I think you had it too.
I did. We both made these lists separately, but we both had this one on the list, maybe because it was fresh and we had just had it, but it was unique, all those flavors, and you picked up on all those flavors. You got the pumpkin, you got banana, you got the black currant, and that sour snack series they do is always good. Did you happen to rate that on Untapped?
I did. What was your rating for it?
I gave it a 3.7, which is pretty high, above average for me. And I looked, and I'm in the minority because it actually has a 4, an even 4 overall rating in Untapped. So I don't remember how many actually had, but it's got a higher rating than I gave it.
Okay. Well, we were also at Tailgate Brewery a couple of weeks ago, and I also had the pumpkin spice latte at Tailgate. That was a milk stout, and that was a 5.5% beer, and I gave that about a 3.75%. I thought it was really enjoyable when I had it, and Tailgate actually has a couple of pumpkin beers out. There was a couple of them that were more coffee related that I was like, nah, because I don't really drink coffee, so I wasn't going to go down that road.
Did that latte for you have a lot of coffee in it, or could you taste a lot of coffee in it?
It really didn't. I didn't think that it had that much coffee. It was more, as I said, it was more like a milk stout.
Which is good. I like that one too. I actually had it on my list. Um, I haven't had it in a while, but it is a good beer, and it's not too much of any one thing either, is it?
No, absolutely not. So I think these are some recommendations for people that if you're getting out, especially around Thanksgiving, these pumpkin beers are probably going to be around for the next couple of weeks. And you can go to various stores, wherever you're listening and get some pumpkin beers if that's something that you want to take in. And I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, one of the pumpkin beers that I had was from Mad Tree Brewing in Cincinnati, the Great Pumpkin, which was it's 7.9% at the time. I gave this a 4 rating on Untapped, and I really love it. And I looked, and they do still have it on rotation as we're speaking right now.
Wow, 7.9. Do you remember like if it was if it felt like it was 7.9 or it tasted like it was, or was it kind of, you know what I mean? Like, is it kind of deceiving where it's so good?
Yeah, really, it really was. It was that good, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was really great at the time that I had it. And I'll tell you another one. Hits home for me, literally was Taft Brewing. They came up with a collaboration a couple of years ago with Frisch's, which is a restaurant chain up in Cincinnati. Frisch's Big Boy in certain parts of the country they're still around. They might be known as Bob's Big Boy, but their pumpkin pie has always been really good, and they still have it on tap at Tap Brewing, the Frisch's Pumpkin Pie Ale. And at that point in time, I gave it a 3.75 rating. It's a 6% beer, a really good collaboration between the two.
Yeah, I remember having it too, and I gave it a 3.8 on Untapped, and that's again above average for me. I remember us sitting there drinking it and remembering how good it was. We kept saying, "How good is this?" You remember that? And it was
Yeah, definitely,
like,
definitely.
couldn't
Yeah,
believe how good it
absolutely.
was compared to the what was it we had prior to that? The key lime pumpkin pie or something, or not, or the key lime pie,
We won't
which was
talk about that. We won't talk about that. No, actually, when we had when they had the Frisch's pumpkin pie ale, I actually did not think I would like it. And when I had it a couple of years ago, I was like, wow, this is really, really good. So
so. Steve, of your list that you have, and we didn't cover all of them here, but what is your favorite on that list?
I am gonna have to go with the Mad Tree, the Great Pumpkin. I think that was my winner. And if I was up in right now, I would be at Mad Tree probably drinking that.
I'd have to go with, and I don't know if I'm sure you've had it, but my favorite of all time, and one of the few beers I've ever given a 5.0 rating to in Untapped, is the Black Stone Pumpkin, here made here in
Okay.
Nashville. Um, and it's like pumpkin pie. I mean, it's not too sweet. It's got a nice balance of spice, and it doesn't. It's you never get tired of it. Um, and it's just 5%. So it's kind of a nice middle of the road ABV. It's absolutely my favorite. So when I see it, I get excited about it. I plan on bringing some to Columbus as well, so they can try some there. My other one, and the reason I asked you earlier about if that one snuck up on you alcohol wise, is Schlafly's,
Hmm.
and that one gets you. That one's 8%, and it's phenomenal. It tastes great. You don't know you're drinking an 8% beer, and it'll get you in trouble because you drink them too quickly or you drink enough of them, you start feeling it pretty quick. So um, that's that's one of, and that's one, Blackstone you probably find just in this area. Schlafly's I think you can find nationally. So if you're looking for a good one you hadn't had, go find that one.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, it's really timely to talk about pumpkin beers around Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna guess what that the pumpkin beers in most places, whether you're going to a brewery or a tap room or even going to a store to find some pumpkin beers, will probably be available for maybe like the next 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, and wherever you are, some local breweries are going to have one. You know, it has they're going to have some form, or they're probably grocery stores will bring in other brewers from other places. So there's usually pretty good selection every time I go to look, um, whether it's local or someone from out of your market might have one. I like to try them all every chance I get.
Speaking of Thanksgiving, we know that there is football that is taking place on Thanksgiving this year, as it does every year. The Green Bay Packers are taking on Detroit, Washington and Dallas, and San Francisco and Seattle. Now, I could be wrong, but I think today I actually saw a statistic that the record for the Detroit Lions right now is the best it's ever been since like JFK was president. Is it? Did you see that?
I did see that too, and it's crazy. It's hard to believe they snuck out a few wins, at the end of the game, but hey, they all count, and they really have something to play for in this Thanksgiving. So that should be fun, man. I mean, we're used to watching them anyway, but they've got something to play for.
Well, two teams that I follow, I know have no shot at going anywhere for the rest of the year. One of them is the Tennessee Titans. They're looking like dead in the water back in the days where Jeff Fisher was in one of the last years of his coaching career with the Tennessee Titans, and they are just doing absolutely nothing. Will Levis may be, who knows, he might be the future, he may not be the future, but right now the future does not look good for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. It's there's nothing there's nothing fun to watch. Um, I've got Derrick Henry on my fantasy football team, and he's not performing. No fault of his
No.
own, but he's usually their best player, and he's not producing either. So it's hard to watch, Steve. People that go, bless their hearts. I watch them on TV, but man, it's tough to watch.
Well, while they're at the Tennessee Titans games, you're going to be at the Nashville Predators games cheering on the Preds.
That's
So
right. It's hockey season at this point.
it is
Well,
hockey season.
they're not great either, but we had a nice win the other night.
Yeah, sure did, sure did. And the other team that I follow that is absolutely not doing well and is probably not going to do well the rest of the season because Joe Burrow is now out with a hand injury for the Cincinnati Bengals. And as goes Joe Burrow, so do the Cincinnati Bengals, and it is not looking good.
Yeah, they had a tough time when he was in there. I don't know how they're going to do it without him. Who is their backup anyway?
I think the backup right now is Jake Browning, I believe, and he'll be in this Sunday. And I do know that they re-signed AJ McCarron a couple of weeks ago. It was like their third string quarterback. He was playing in the XFL up until recently.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I know he was in the league at
Yeah,
one point and it was gone. So that's
yeah.
where he was, huh?
If you had a pick right now for the two teams that you think are going to be in the Super Bowl here in a couple of months, and we'll revisit this podcast to see if we're right. What two teams would you be picking right now?
I think I would have to go with the rematch of last year, and they just played Monday Night Football last night too. Is
Yep,
the
last
Chiefs
night.
and the Eagles? Yeah, Chiefs and Eagles. I don't know who's better in the AFC. Thought it might be the Bills for a minute, but they've fallen off. They can't score enough points. I still think it's those two teams, but if Detroit keeps playing like this, they're going to be a hard out. What
Okay, okay.
what about you? What are your thoughts?
I'm actually going, and I'm not going to be liked by my friends that are Bengals fans here because I'm going to go with a division rival, and I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to be in it against the Philadelphia Eagles with an East Coast matchup for the Super Bowl this year. So we'll see if I'm correct.
That's not a bad pick. They're playing well too, and Lamar Jackson's he's playing at a high level, right? He's running the ball, he's passing when he needs to pass it. They're fun to watch.
As we talked about drinking on Thanksgiving, certainly going to be drinking some pumpkin beers on Thanksgiving. And really after Thanksgiving, as you mentioned, you're going to be going up to Ohio, making a stop in Cincinnati, and then you're going up to Columbus as well. to try to hit some breweries. And then the week after, I'm actually going to Cincinnati to visit family. And my plan is to hopefully hit at least a couple of new breweries that I've not been able to go to. And there's, as we know, in Cincinnati, there's always new breweries that you can go to because they're opening up left and right.
Yeah. Have you kind of scoped out where you're going to go yet, or do you even know how much time you're going to have to do that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them over in like Newport on the Levee area, and then maybe some on the west side that I'm going to try to get to as well. Up in Hamilton, Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati, I'd like to get to one called Municipal Brew Works, and I've had their canned beer, but I've actually not been to the actual location. I might be by there, so I'm hoping that maybe I could go there. And actually, what's really interesting about Municipal Brew Works is it used to be the city hall there years ago that renovated into a brewery, and I just absolutely love that. So I think that'll be really cool if I make it there.
That's cool. And we might get into one of them here soon, but converted things for breweries. I know Cincinnati's got quite a few of them between Taft's and Wiedemann and the one you just mentioned. Those are always cool, right? To see the old buildings and what
Really
they've
is.
become. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's it's neat. And when they keep some of the old features of the old of whatever it was
Yep.
before, like the church or the funeral home, it's pretty neat to sit around and just talk about it.
A brewery that you just mentioned a few minutes ago, and we had sent out the other day on our website that we were gonna on our Facebook page, I should say, that we were gonna talk about this. Is that Taft Brewery in Cincinnati announced last week that they are going to be closing their downtown location. Now, not every one of their breweries is closing. They do have one on Spring Grove and Mitchell Avenue that's going to stay open, but and also in Columbus. That one I've not been to. Maybe you can get to it when you're up there. They're going to be remaining open as well, and hopefully they'll still be. You can still find their cans of beer at various locations at stores and places like that in Cincinnati. But I got to tell you, when I heard about this, when I heard the Taft Brewery in over the well, it's actually over the Rhine. I said downtown Cincinnati, but it's over the Rhine, which is just just in the downtown area. When I heard it was going to be closing, this one really, really surprised me.
It's what's it been open 8 years or so. I think it was the at least the first official brewery that you and I went to together in Cincinnati when we kind of started this thing. When I would go with you and go to the Reds games, I remember that being one of the first ones. And
Yeah.
beautiful place, right? Old church. It's what 170 years old or something. The building is.
It was a renovated historic church. It was originally built in the mid 1800s. And so that location, that tap brewing location, opened in 2015. So they had been around for a while. And basically what they've said is that, over time, the pandemic has really hit them hard, like many other places has. So they've had just a lot of different issues, whether it might be staffing issues and things like that, that has really unfortunately hurt them quite a bit. And I really just hate to hear it.
Do you think being in that area, OTR or over the Rhine as we call it, um, being there hurts as well, just because of the other things that have gone in around it?
I've heard
And
some other discussion just talking about maybe in that area because it's hard to park in that particular location. I remember we went, we Ubered, so I don't have much of an opinion on parking there, but I do know, and it's something that I have certainly um, recognized and seen over time, is that there is a lot of competition in the over the Rhine area of Cincinnati and right near downtown, which is really just blocks away. I mean, you have Rhinegeist over there, you have Northern Row over there. Braxton has a brewery over there as well. And then you get into, closer to town. I mean, Brewdog, which we've been to, they have one over there as well. And then also, just in the past, I would say a couple of months or so, March 1st, right in downtown Cincinnati by Fountain Square. They have a really huge brewery there, and also Voodoo has put one in there as well. So I really wonder if it's also part of the competition that has started to squeeze some of the breweries out, and maybe that's what's happened here.
It could be, and some of those you just mentioned, those are that's a second or maybe more than that location for some of those breweries, right? So starting here, and then I can't get to this place because it's so far away. But you put
Yeah,
one now in that neighborhood, now people are flocking over there, and like, oh gosh, now I can drink this more now. In Matry, I think of example, not necessarily there, but you start
yeah.
putting them in different parts of
Matry's not
town.
that far from there either, and they opened up a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
Well, and I,
Yeah.
and
So
I yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing, that you look at with some of these breweries is that when they came in, they did not expect, like nobody really did. Nobody expected, COVID to hit some of these breweries and some of these businesses in general everywhere. We're anticipating people are going to be working downtown. When they get off work, they're going to be going into the breweries and things like that. And I know they have talked about that being an issue, also tourism being an issue as well. A couple of years ago, we had gone to a brewery. It was 2 miles from Great American Ballpark after a Reds game, and it was right in the downtown area, Rebel Metal. And we walked in, and it was kind of obvious in the beginning. I mean, we felt bad for them that they were having some issues, and then it was just a few months later that they had shut down.
yeah, I don't know if their beer was that good to start with, so that didn't help. But to your point, it was in a high traffic area. Like just that alone, you'd think people would you'd get walk up traffic. And I thought, location wise, I don't know that you could do any better with just the people walking by. But it didn't hold up for whatever reason. Sad to see him go. I didn't get a sticker. They didn't
I didn't
have
get a
one,
sticker.
and it, I need a sticker from everyone. I didn't get a sticker for that one, so I have to make one.
Well, I look forward to getting back to the tap location in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
Excuse
and
me.
I hate seeing breweries close anyway. You just talk about Taft and Rebel Metal from a couple years ago, and yeah, there's a couple around here that have closed, and not necessarily directly in Nashville. But I hate to hear it, and you always think, God, how does a brewery close? But certain circumstances for everyone, and Taft might be that perfect example. Not that they were doing anything wrong. I think they make really good beer. Just that particular spot just wasn't cutting it.
Well, closer to home, as we talked about, we have been out and about visiting some recent breweries in Nashville. We were just at Tailgate about a week ago. You were also at Southern Grist. And then this past weekend, we went to two breweries over in East Nashville. One I had not been to yet, and that one was Crazy Gnome. And you had been there before.
That place is great, isn't it? And
Yeah,
when we
definitely.
left to go to Crazy Gnome, we were leaving and we said, "Up, off to work. We're going to work." So we could go.
Show prep.
Yes, it was so prep. We had to have the beers, and we hope to have them on the podcast, and wanted to make sure you got there and had some of their beers. And but the place is great. I love it. It's kind of a small little place, but it's got a really cool vibe. Beer's good. I know we had a flight, a bunch of different styles. Cool name. They've got some cool stuff coming down the road, that I'm going to kind of wait on, and we get them on the podcast. We'll talk to them about. But they've got some things in the works, so they're looking to grow and do some other things too. So they'll be fun to talk to.
Yeah, definitely. The taproom manager, Kramer, he was working there that night. He came over and talked to us for a while, and it was great to have a pretty long conversation with him about really about their beers and their growth and things like that.
Yeah, and he's a fellow podcaster, and I got to listen to one since I've talked to him, and hope to listen to a couple more. But he's got some knowledge in the beer business, so hope we can learn something from him, and maybe we can get him on the podcast at the same time. He was a good conversationalist, and we talked to him for like 20 minutes. Poor guy, we held him up from doing his job.
I don't think he mind though. I don't think he mind. Yeah, I know when I went there, I had a flight, and looking at some of the beers that I had from them was a sour. Don't be a sucker, and I really liked that one. Also, a shandy. I had the lemon squeezy, and then I had a Belgian blonde, which was the strawberry shimmer, and just a couple others as well from there, and really enjoyed them. I think the Hop Hunter I also got from there. So yeah.
Yeah, and they're never well, let me put it this way: they always have a bunch of different styles. You just mentioned four, and they're all four different things. So you'll always get that from those guys.
Yeah, well, we certainly wish Crazy Gnome well. It looks like things are probably in the future going to be getting a little crazy for him. The thing is, you walk in there, and when you sit down, you can see a really big board of what appears to be a lot of their brews that they've already had out there. So you can really get a clear understanding of what it is that they've had on tap and what they're probably going to have on tap again.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those they bring back on occasion. That's why they keep the boards over there. And I see them sometimes, and I'm like, well, I've never had that one yet. I have to time it when they get back. But yeah, they've got probably what 3 dozen different ones up there on the wall at least.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And then after Crazy Gnome, my second trip ever was over again to East Nashville to Monday Night Brewing, and you've been there a couple of times as well.
Yep, with you, I think most of the time. Yeah, it's a cool spot, and I won't say I forget about it, but it's when you go over there, you're like, man, I should get here more often. They've got a ton of stuff that still blows my mind that they don't make anything here. Everything's brought up from Atlanta, as far as I know, and to have that amount of beer that they've got is pretty amazing. And every time I go, there's another 3 or 4 or 5 I've not had. So great place. Again, a lot of different styles. I think they always have some barrel aged stuff on draft, um, which I'm pretty sure I had this time. Love it. It's huge, right? And I don't think we've even sat outside yet since we've been.
No, we didn't. No, of course, it was a little chilly the other night we went there. I had the chef series, which was a lager, and it was pretty good. And I have to say, you talk about a lot of these different breweries that are have been or older, were older buildings or are older buildings, and this certainly is one. In fact, I didn't even know it, and I went on their website today because I was curious. Is that it used to be a meat packing facility over by basically it's almost near the Cumberland River in Nashville, and it's not that far from there. So I would have to think that that was probably a building that, if I had to take a guess, was probably built maybe in the late 1800s, maybe early 1900s, because it is really an old building. But I'll tell you, they have done a fabulous job converting it into a brewery.
They have, and they kept a lot of that. Some of it was like falling down, literally,
Yeah.
and but they kept some of that. You saw that out like in the courtyard and that outside area. They kept some of those walls and some of that. I don't know, that history, I guess, up, and it's really cool the way they've got it. And then the new stuff that they're renovating still looks kind of old, but it's a neat spot. I know the whole complex is called Newhoff. I don't know what else is going in there, but Monday night certainly took hold first.
Yeah, it kind of goes into a lot of these older buildings in various cities that they're converting into, whether it's a brewery or whether it's other shopping complex and things like that. And then right around there, you start to see the same way with over near Tailgate, over near Tanger Outlets. Even though that's newer, a lot of these places are promoting a lot of restaurants around it and things like that, and also, downtown living, or not even necessarily downtown living, but condos in the area where people are living, and they can just walk over to the breweries, whenever they want.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, well, and think of this: a lot of times a brewery goes in somewhere and things get built around it. I mean, we can go back to OTR, when Reingeist went in there. It's changed a lot over time since that's gone in there. So it's one of those things people want to go do, and we've seen it. You walk up, it's walk up traffic. People just hang out for hours and you know hang out with their friends and drink beer, and it's a great thing to do.
So you also recently took a trip to Knoxville with some friends, and talk about the Knoxville brewery scene, because there were a few of them there that you went to.
Yeah, Knoxville's got a great beer scene. There are more there than I ever seem to get to. Not as certainly not as big as Cincinnati, but every time I go, there seems to be another one. Um, so I went back to. So they've got a brand new Yeehaw, like we've got a Yeehaw here in Nashville,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the same thing where it's got a campus setting. You got some outside space and you've got some inside space, and you got kind of your main building, and then you've got an whole outside bar area with They've got a stage. They've got um, like outside picnic tables. They've got a giant big screen TV out there to watch ball games on, and it's just I don't know how big it is, but it's huge. I mean, it's just a campus. That's what I like to call it. Um, they had plenty of food. Matter of fact, they have Princess Hot Chicken was there, which
Okay,
I
yeah.
thought I was like,
Nashville
oh, okay,
staple.
absolutely. So that was familiar. The place is awesome, and they have really good beer. The problem I don't talk about it, or the reason I don't talk about it more here in Nashville is you and I know we can't get near the place. We tried. We can't get served. There's so many people down there. But the Knoxville one was different, and we got there at 11 o'clock in the morning, so it might not have been as busy anyway. Um, but it was awesome, and it was great, and it was. I would recommend anybody to go there for the beer and the experience. Also went to a place called what is this place called? It was a German place. Um, Schultz Brewing. I guess how you say that. Like a German style place. It's actually shaped like and built like a castle.
Okay.
They've got they've got a giant beer garden outside. They kind
They
of have
have
an
some
outside.
Oktoberfest there?
They did have some
All
Oktoberfest. Can you
right.
believe
Now you're talking my
it?
language,
can,
buddy.
can you believe it?
Yep.
Yeah, they had some dark lagers, kind of German style beers, and they had a couple of flights there. Again, it was the same day, so it was a beautiful day, and within walking distance of Yeehaw, so we just walked down the street. So that was fun. Huge place, just kind of a cool vibe, and it was that time of year, kind of Oktoberfest season too, so just made it all the better. And then I did get to, and I've been here before. It's called Last Days of Autumn, and uh, really good beer. They had some kind of habanero. I didn't look up the name of the beer, but it was a habanero something, and it was hot. I'm telling you,
Probably
like a
not
put.
something that I would have, but it sounds like if you were into habanero, then you would really like a beer like that.
Yeah, but I like the flight. You just get a taster of it, and that's plenty.
Sure.
Yep, check the box and move on, because I'd still probably be drinking it if I had a pint of it. Um, But I, the main reason for going back there was I had been before. I didn't have a sticker, so I had to go get a sticker
Got to
when they
get
had
those
them. So
stickers.
I had to get a sticker. And I got stickers from all three of them that day. So it was a successful day. But Last Days of Autumn too, great place. Apparently, I've not eaten there. They have a really good food menu too. Like they've got a full food menu. People rave about their food, and I've seen pictures of it from their menus, but I haven't had any. But it looks legit.
Well, on our website, Sullivan's Huron Brewery Adventures.com, when you go on there, you're going to find a whole lot of different things, including, our top 10 list of beers and breweries and things like that for the year. And I can tell you one thing we are working on that's really exciting that we're going to have at some point, probably between now and the end of the year and the beginning of the year, is we are going to highlight a lot of the breweries that we went to last year, the new breweries this year that we went to, that stand out to us, and what our recommendations are and things like that. And so really looking forward to
Yeah, it's not as easy to come up with 10 of your best
that.
ones
No,
in a year. I, st- I started writing them down, looking back at, where I'd been and making sure I'd, covered them all. And I was like, my God, it's a lot. And trying to pick, it's almost like picking your favorite kid. It's like, it's hard. What's your criteria? And I wrote down a few things that are my criteria, but what makes them your favorite? And they're going to be different for both of us. We may have a couple of crossovers, but, um, it's a fun thing. It's hard to determine what your favorite ones are, but whatever 10 we pick won't be bad at all.
there's going to be some that I think are going to be honorable mentions
Yeah.
because it really is. I mean, when you talk about whether it's breweries around here in Nashville or breweries in Louisville or Cincinnati, you've been to Colorado, you've been, as you say, you just mentioned there, you've been to Knoxville, and you've been to other places as well. It's really hard in a year's time when you've been to a lot of breweries to pin down, gosh, what is my top 10 and what is my criteria for my top 10?
Yeah, and part of it for me was okay. I remember being at all of them, but some of it was when I
You
reflect
remember
back
being
on
in
them
most of
even now.
them.
I do. So, some I forgot I had been to, and I had to look them up. I was like, oh yeah, that one too. But what kind of what you think about afterwards, after you've been and reflecting back, like certain things still stand out. Like, yeah, that one deserves to be on the list. I can tell you, I'm not even finished with the list yet, and I've already got a tie. So I'm gonna have at least 11 on on our top 10.
Yeah,
But
I feel like I have at least 2 or 3 ties, when I started making out my list the other day, and I'm like, "Yeah, oh, gosh, if I," and I'm not even really sure if somebody came in and said to me, "Okay, you've gotta choose what your most favorite one is. Which one is it of a new brewery that you've been to this year?" I mean, I can probably almost tell you. You're gonna have to wait a few weeks for us me to really tell you, though.
yeah, no doubt. And again, it's what's your criteria. Your criteria might be a little different than mine. Um, but but some of them we've been together. So we'll know, kind of know what the other one's talking about. But yeah, it's hard to do, but it's fun at the same time. So as I'm writing, I write the list and I'm kind of writing something about each one. I think I could write something about every one I had been to make the case. But they can't all make the list. So we're gonna try to keep it to, I don't know. We say top 10. Maybe we'll try to keep it under 20.
We may have to split it up into a couple of podcasts. There is no doubt about that. But you've been really working on our website quite a bit, and talk more about when people are going there now, what they can find that is really informative, especially for people that either you're a craft beer lover or you're looking to get into craft beer.
Well, here's something I'm kind of excited about that I've been working on. Is there are two lists on there, and they're actually is pages. I've got a 2023 beer festival list, Nashville Beer Festival list, but it's
Hmm.
not complete because when I started it, I just kind of did it from that point, which I think was somewhere around August. So I started from there, but I'm already starting a 2024 beer festival list, which will be complete. And every single one I can find, I'm putting on there. I've listed a bunch already, but a lot of them don't have dates yet. And
Whether it's a beer festival in Nashville or a beer festival in somebody's backyard, you're putting it down.
yeah, if I can find information on it, and what I found out too is when I would kind of started this, it was not that there were beer festivals, but there were a lot of Oktoberfests going on.
Yep.
A lot of different places had different Oktoberfests, so I put some of those on there. Some may or may not make the list if they're big enough, maybe. But you'll be able to come to our website and find every beer festival in the Nashville area that exists, and I'm doing a deep dive on it too. So that's exciting. I've got the list up there already. A lot of the names are there. There just aren't any dates, but for one or two, because that's all that are available right now. But I'm excited about that. We've got a list of, it's a page also of Nashville area breweries. So not
Yes.
just ones we visited necessarily, but just
Yep.
ones that exist around here. And we've got the same thing, big deep dive, trying to find every one that exists in the Nashville area. And then I've got kind of almost an honorable mention too, where I've got some the Columbia area or Cookville. They're just outside of Nashville, and I've kind of got them in their own areas too. So all broken down on the thing. I'm always trying to update that. As somebody closes, like a Bold Patriot might close, but Baseline opens up. So that's all up to date. The new tailgate, south is on there. I know Marrowbone. I forget where they're located. They're kind of somewhere north. They're getting ready to close. So trying to keep up with the latest and greatest so you can go on there and say, man, I want to plan a trip to go to a bunch of breweries in one area. We've got a map and we've got a list on there to see where everything is. So I think it's good information. You could plan a trip by it.
Yep. And recently, when you went to one of these outdoor beer festivals, you actually ran into some folks that brew beer. They have a unique story, and we're going to have them
Mhm.
on soon.
We are. We want to save the name until we drop them, which shouldn't be very long, honestly. Probably next week sometime.
That's right.
Um,
That's right. That's coming up on a future podcast.
Yeah, that's exciting. We're looking forward to talking to those folks. And they've got a really cool story that we'll get to hear all about um, and learn more about too. You can read about it, but yeah, we're going to talk to them and find out what more we can learn about them.
Well, to wrap things up here, what we want to do today is thank a lot of people who are tuning into this podcast and getting the word out, and also going to our website and our Facebook page and Instagram. And what we want people to do is, we were talking in the beginning here about pumpkin beers. If you have a recommendation, if you're out there and you're drinking a beer or craft beer and you have a recommendation, go on our website or go on our Facebook page and feel free to post it. We would love to have that interaction with you about what brewery did you go to, and where were you today, or where are you going tomorrow, or whatever, and what did you have that you really liked, because we're always looking for recommendations.
Yeah, and I would say this too. I just talked about those lists that we've got. If there's something that we don't have on there that I've missed, which is easy to do, I'd love to hear about it. Oh, you forgot this brewery, or this one's closed and it's still on your list. Would love to hear about that. Just so we want. I'm bragging that we will have and have the most complete um, and up to date, uh, whether it's the beer festival list or the national breweries. We'll have the most complete list on the internet for this area.
All right, Scott. Well, listen, we certainly appreciate it. We are going to continue on here at Sullivan and Turon Brewery Adventures.com. You're always welcome to join us. And of course, our Brewery Underground podcast. And we hope everybody out there has a Thanksgiving that is very happy for them. And safe travels to you, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir. Enjoy your time locally, which is that's fun too, because you don't have to go anywhere and your time is your own.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. And we will catch you next time on the Brewery Underground podcast.